Welcome to What's in a Game. On today's show, Nikola Jokic is Humpty Dumpty, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put him back together again because the horses are the Denver Nuggets, and they are dead. How/can the Denver Nuggets survive this stretch with basically everyone out of commission? Stay tuned and strap in to find out. Welcome back to What's in a Game. I'm Grace Jane here with my co-host Will Jones. How are you doing today, Will, on this fine January 2nd, 2026?
Yeah, happy New Year. It's 2026. I'm glad to be back after the holidays. You know, we took a long break, so thanks everyone for hanging in there and being back with us right now. We're doing this Friday show because if we didn't, we would be not being able to do a show for even longer. So I know we usually do stuff on Thursday, but thanks for being here. And aside from that, I'm just like, yeah, it's Wade. What's up? Wade's in the chat with Nug Life in full effect.
Let's go, guys. I got to meet Wade in person. It was last year at a Magic game. He's so tall. Oh my God. Like, way underestimated that. There are some really tall people in this fan base, I must
Nuggets
say.
fans are tall. That's just how it is.
Yeah, actually,
even Grace is pretty tall.
Like Adam Maris, I'm not tall. Will is super tall, guys. Okay, Wade is super tall. Every Nuggets fan I've ever met has been taller, like way taller than I imagine. I don't imagine anybody short, but you guys are like well over 6 feet. Okay,
that's funny. But yeah, otherwise I'm just dealing with these injuries and processing it. It was. I went to the Jazz game, and that was amazing. Yeah, in person. Like I was at the game.
In Ball Arena. Okay.
Yeah, in Ball Arena. And it was, we crushed them, if people remember. And I was like feeling on a super high. And Cam Johnson was 6 of 6 from 3 in that game. And then immediately the next day, bad loss to the Mavs. Cam Johnson's hurt. Dealing with that, and then obviously, as you know, Jokic and now Val have gone down. So it's like, man, it wasn't that long ago where I was like really riding high on the Nuggets, having that like get right game against the Jazz, and after that loss to the Rockets and smacking them, and now we're dealing with this. So,
all right, we had a get right game against the Rockets, or after the Rockets lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wade, I think you're taller than 6'3". I'm gonna be honest. Poppin 6'6". Wow, some like incredibly like just giants in this fan base, which I don't know. I guess there are a lot of. I'm assuming you guys like played basketball at some point in your athletic careers in school or whatever. I definitely did not. Lockdown Nuggets was asking for applications for the center position. They absolutely were, and I might apply because given the current circumstances.
I can go in and like just foul some people,
right? Yeah, just give some hard fouls. Honestly, they could use that right now. Anything to protect AG from playing center as soon as he gets back from 6 weeks off with it's a hamstring this time, right? Or is it a calf?
Yeah, he's got this hamstring.
It's a hamstring. Oh my gosh. Yes, of course. Happy New Year to everyone. The holidays have been incredibly exhausting. I had a wonderful trip, I will say, to Europe with my family, and it was really quite fun. I've never gone on a like extended trip with my family before, so that was like I was a little bit nervous for that aspect of it, traveling with a large group of people and all that, but it turned out to be just a pretty chill, like European holiday. And then that was an interesting experience because I'm like in the Airbnb in Paris and it's like 2:00 in the morning and these games are starting. And I'm like, oh, great, another injury. Fantastic. Like, oh, we lost to the Mavs. Great. It the wins, like I actually missed the Timberwolves Christmas Day game because it was too late. I think it started at like 4:30 a.m. over there for me, and I was like, I'm not going to make it after walking 15,000 steps around the city today with children, etc. But that was a fun rewatch, and it was cool getting to wake up to that for sure the next day. But yeah, it's been a weird few weeks for the team and for me, like as an observer, a watcher, a fan of the team because of like everything going on with them in combination with like I'm trying to process these emotions at like 3 o'clock in the morning and nobody
Yeah.
else is awake right now.
Yeah, you were definitely empathizing and sympathizing with the European fans, the Serbian fans.
The Serbian fans, Mile High Hockey in the UK. I'm like, dude, you wake up for these games at 2 o'clock in the morning, or you stay up for these games at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then when they play poorly, like I feel so bad for them for having to go through last season when you would wake up or like stay up for these games and the Nuggets were playing with complete and total apathy. And you're like,
Right.
oh my gosh, like these are the diehards. Okay. No offense to the Coloradans, but you got to throw some respect to the overseas fans over there for sure.
Yeah. I'm also wondering how they feel about, I mean, obviously they're happy Jokic didn't have a more serious injury, but I don't know. I was thinking about, if the worst came to the worst case scenario, if the Serbian fans would still watch the Nuggets if Jokic was out for a whole season. So let me know where you guys would stand on that, because I was just curious. But yeah,
That's a really good question, actually. Or if, even for this next month, how much are we going to get of the, at least the live viewership of, those fans who would normally be, staying up till I think Serbia is like another time zone or two. So like those games are at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning for them. Like the normal games, not like the Christmas night game. What was the start time for you guys in Colorado? Was it like
I think it was
10:30?
8:30.
It was 8:30. Okay, so
Yeah.
I think it would have been I had like East Coast time like on my phone, so I knew what time it was in the East. So it was like 10 something for the East Coast fans too. Um I think they'll probably still watch over this next month because they're like, all right, team,
Oh yeah,
let's
they'll
make sure
still
you
watch
guys aren't
now. Yeah.
completely collapsing in Jokic's absence. Like, we need you guys to hold down the fort. Got to be a lot of eyes on, Jamal Murray over the next month, etc. But yeah, if he was gone for like out for a whole year, I don't even want to think about what that would be like, honestly. Um, so I was very glad that we, narrowly avoided like a much worse injury, not even just like, ACL, like season ending, like multiple season ending potentially, because he wouldn't come back for like, at least another like year probably. Plus he's
Yeah.
like a big and he's older, like who knows how long that would take to heal, all that stuff. But even like something like another ligament thing that might have required surgery and had him out until like maybe right before the playoffs. Like this team just wouldn't. I don't know if we'd make it. Like I don't know if he'd have something to come back to if he was missing any more time than he is already projected to miss. Poppin says KCP, Bruce Brown, Big Val, MPJ, AG, etc. I definitely watch the Nuggets even when Jokic is injured. Oh, KCP. I'm assuming you mean Tim Hardaway Jr. THJ.
Instead of KCP.
That's the only.
Yeah.
Also, MPJ is not on the team anymore. So maybe you are. I can't tell if Poppin is hearkening to teams past or just forgetting. Hi, Tess. Favorite Nuggets podcast is on. Yeah, it's been definitely a longer break than accepted. And what's expected? I forgot how to speak.
You forgot English in Europe.
This is what happens when you don't, talk for 2.5 hours at a time once a week.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to let's jump into the show. But before we do, please do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Really helps us out with the algorithm as we keep trying to grow the channel through really what has been the grindiest of grinds through the beginning of this NBA season for a variety of reasons, many of which having nothing to do with the current predicament of the team. It's actually, I haven't looked at the end of January schedule. We have a really dense, we're going to talk about it. We have a really dense schedule in terms of the number of games, but the actual opponents we're facing, it's not that bad. A lot of our big like matchups against good teams we've either had between like the Wolves games and the Rockets games. Spurs we play like later in the season. Thunder we don't even play at all until February. So we're not going to be missing out on an opportunity to see like, oh, what would like full strength Nuggets look like against X good team? But it's really like this month is about triage. And the reason why is the first news item, all the Nuggets are dead temporarily. They're all in a coma. We've put them in a forced coma. I have to share just a slight tangent on this story. I have to share this because I've been listening to this 4-part series on the history of ice dance, modern ice dance, I should say. It's from like the 1990s and on. There's all these like insane stories that I won't necessarily go into, but there's one about a former, I believe he was a world champion and Olympic champion, and he ended up getting this really bad flu one year and like messed up his body. This guy was Russian, by doing these like weird things he'd read online about like doing like cold bath to sauna, and then like messed up his internal organs, and they had to put him into a forced coma. And he was on ECMO, which is like the thing that like breathes for you, basically like it circulates your blood for you when you're in that state. But it's not great at getting blood to the like extremities. So like he gets out, he recovers and gets out of it after 7 weeks, but he loses his arms and legs, like elbow down and knee down. And this guy's a former like competitive figure skater. Insane. Jeez. And this dude learns to skate again somehow when he gets fitted with prosthetics and skates like with a partner. Insane. Like anyway. Wow. That's what that reminded me of, putting the Nuggets in the deep freeze. Hopefully they come back with all their limbs intact. We kind of need that. But let's talk about the state of the injury report as it currently stands right now. Cam Johnson went out with an injury. I believe it's since our last show. Is that right, Will?
Yes.
Was him already out by our last show? No. So he was listed as out he's going to be reevaluated, I believe, in 4 weeks. It's not 4 to 6. It might be 4 to 6. Everybody, it seems like, it's 4 to 6 weeks for their reevaluation. It's
that the standard diagnosis of time.
Yeah, for after suffering a hyperextension that was really scary in the moment. A lot of people were like, "Oh shit!" The way he's grabbing his knee, like it's over. And honestly, if Cam had suffered a season-ending injury, the season is over for this team. Even before the other injuries we're going to talk about, just because of what this team, like what Cam does for this team, in terms of the spacing, the playmaking, what he's been doing with just making the bench minutes positive, which has been really important as the sort of other lineups try to like try to figure themselves out in this early part of the season, especially with other injuries that predated his, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking, if he did go out for the full season, it would have been definitely tough to, achieve our goals of winning a championship this year. But I was thinking, is there any way, if he was hurt, we could try to trade him or something? I know he's hurt, but like just trade him for scraps. Like I know you would get like nobody good back, but would that be something we could have done before the trade deadline? But thankfully, that's not something we have to consider. But my mind did go there for a second.
Yeah, if it was like a year, like if it was an ACL, as everyone sort of feared in that moment, worst case scenario, that would have been a really tough trade, because he's not yet like, oh, he's just an expiring contract, doesn't matter the quality of the player, just trade him to a team. He's not yet that. And he wouldn't be like useful to a team that wanted to use him for like a very, very, very long time. So that's a different. There are some people who have talked about like, well, maybe we should trade Cam anyway, like right now, because he's going to be coming back, and blah blah blah. I don't think they're going to do that. We can talk about that kind of stuff maybe as this month progresses, and we can talk more about like the very specific needs of the team and what some of the options are going to be as the deadline approaches.
Mm-hmm.
CT brings up the Watson contract looming large this offseason. I absolutely agree. I think we're gonna talk about some of the objectives of the next month, and one of them going to be to potentially limit things that would make next season more difficult, because this season is already going to be more difficult than it was already shaping up to be, when everybody was healthy, in terms of like achieving the ultimate goal, which is a title. But you also don't want to do anything that would potentially, set you back, in terms of like setting up the books for next season. We've got to get to the biggest injury of all, which is Nikola Jokic hyperextending his knee during the Miami Heat game. He's out at least 4 weeks. I think he was a 4 to 6 weeks with a hyperextension. That's what they listed it as. That's not a diagnosis, as a lot of people have pointed out. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, because even Cam had a hyperextension, and it
yeah,
ended
but
up being the
they're
bone
like
bruise.
he had bone bruising, which
Yeah.
is like what resulted from the hyperextension is like a mechanism. It's not really a diagnosis. It's just like what happened, but doesn't tell you like, well, what's the state of your body, right? So yeah, Jokic has some bone bruising. There have been. It was very interesting being part of the Jokic watch on Twitter, and like observing Jokic watch on Twitter as everybody is like going to their favorite Twitter doctors to be like, can you watch this video and diagnose what's going on, as we're waiting on, the news of like what could have happened with Jokic. I've never, torn my ACL. I know people who have. There are definitely people in the Nuggets fan base who were sharing their own experience with that, and the possibility of that, being the case. And so this is rampant speculation on my part. I didn't think that it was an ACL in the moment. Just because of other ACLs that I've seen like happen on the court, and what the players are and aren't able to do in the immediate aftermath. Some people have said like just being able to walk off doesn't mean it wasn't an ACL, et cetera, et cetera. But that was like a big thing for me. But he could have easily torn another ligament. Like I said, like we talked about, if Jokic had to miss more time because he had torn like an MCL, PCL, et cetera, potentially needed surgery for that. Torn a meniscus, that was also another possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully there was no soft tissue damage. But we have this extensive bone bruising that is basically, it's a lot of it, like they talk about it as bruising, but it's a lot of microfractures in the bone that need, like, you just have to keep pressure off of it in order for those to heal. So he just can't. It's not just like a pain thing, like he can't play. Basically the same thing as what's going on with Cam, right?
Yeah. And we had that same roller coaster as Cam, where you see the injury, you're waiting for the report. It could be, a month to, a year, based on if the ligament was torn. And some initial reporting, we'll get into that. But, starting to get some signs that maybe it wasn't so bad. Because, he wasn't jumping, it wasn't running, wasn't cutting when it happened. He just kind of like, it was a freak kind of thing where, with Spencer being on his
sometimes those
foot.
are worse, because like I think the fans freak out even more when you see a non-contact injury, because you're like, oh shit, like this is like,
but it kind of
has to be soft tissue.
It like
it wasn't right. It was
yeah.
contact. He just wasn't in the active
running.
He wasn't doing anything like actively applying pressure to it when the contact happened, which can be way worse. As somebody who, I've never torn my ACL, but I have an extensive injury history with my knee
problems.
It's way worse when you're in the act of doing something and then the injury happens, and then you kind of apply more pressure to it, and like it can do more damage internally than if, in Jokic's case, he was literally just standing there at the time of the injury. So could have been worse. Right? That's
it's just scary because
you say about this.
You just don't see Jokic get injured, and he was in pain, and he was really limping bad, and that's a sight Nuggets fans are not used to. because he's such a workhorse and he's so tough, and you just don't see it. But I mean, look, it can happen if something like that. It's gonna hurt like hell. And I had like different opinions on this. Like I thought because it hurt so bad, it's probably not that serious of an injury, because you hear people who tear the ACL and they're like, it didn't actually hurt that bad, and I still was able to like walk and do stuff, but I ended up tearing a ligament.
I've heard that with Achilles.
All,
That's so much ACL. Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Oh.
it's personal tangent, but my dad was a college wrestler at and he tore his ACL and didn't know it and wrestled for a whole season without an ACL. So yeah, it can happen, but it's like rare. Like all these stories are anecdotal and like different people are different, but I'm just glad. Like, so for the moment, I was so happy to hear Jokic was just going to miss a month. I almost didn't care about the ramifications of what this means for the team and possible seeding and maybe losing some games without Jokic. I was just happy because it could have been way worse. But, now we got one game under our belt, thankfully beat the Raptors, which is like, you got to, if you can play like shittier teams like the Raptors, try to get those wins. And we did, thankfully, which we'll talk about more in depth later. But now we're in the mode of wondering how this is going to look, and we're going to get our answers about, or at least a closer answer about DaRon and Pickett and some players we've been wondering about as well.
Any answer about DaRon, because he basically hasn't played before last game. How many minutes did he play in that game? Was it like almost 20? Because he played a lot, especially after JV went out too, which we're about to talk about next. Actually, let's just get to that. So Jonas Valanciunas during that Raptors game ends up straining his calf, suffers a calf strain. Immediately in the moment, you could tell like he's probably going to be out for the rest of the game, unless it's like a cramp, because he's like grabbing his calf and then he has to come out immediately. And then, the next day comes out and we get the injury report that JV is out with a calf strain, and then 4 hours pass before we get any update on the actual injury of like he's out for X amount of time, whatever. And we learned that from Shams Charania, because this is just, I don't know how the team operates now. Before the official Denver Nuggets account puts out the same report, basically, but we basically knew that he had a calf strain before we got, an actual injury update because of the injury report requirements, whatever, I guess, saying that JV is going to be out for the next game.
Yeah, I think he was questionable. Val had been questionable with illness a couple games before that, but then I'm pretty sure they reported that he was kind of like questionable with calf soreness or like a calf strain. Really? Yeah, I swear I must have missed.
I haven't been following those as much while I was on my trip, so I
feel like I heard that he had calf, like, I don't know what wordage they used before the Raptors game, and I thought he wasn't even going to play in that game. And then when I saw that he was playing, I was like, oh, I guess he's okay. And then he hurt his calf in the game.
So it must have been maybe like tightness or cramps or something, and then he actually hurts it in the game, which is what you never want to happen. Like, this is why teams like have been more cautious, I feel like, this season, with especially particularly calf stuff whenever it's tightness or particularly tightness or cramps, is because you don't want to have the strain. You certainly don't want somebody to like tear their Achilles, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess this is just what happened this game. Basically the same thing as like AG had a hamstring tightness for a couple of games before that hamstring against the Rockets, and it's just kind of where we're at right now, which kind of sucks. Like, I mean, it really sucks.
Yeah.
So you want the players to be able to play, but it's like, thank you, JK. It took a very long time. You want the players to be able to play, but you also you want them to be able to play, so you don't want them to get suffer long-term injuries.
Yeah.
That will keep them out of the game.
And it's just wild because Jokic goes down. Yeah. It's the first time we have this amazing backup in Val to come in and be serviceable, and he could have provided a lot of answers for the question of how the Nuggets will survive without Jokic, and we'll talk about that as well. But now he's out in the first game that he started, which is just crazy. Like the injury luck we have is wild right now, which is, I don't know. You can ask questions about why the Nuggets, why, like, is there something with the training staff? I don't think I heard reports about with Malone being out and Adelman coming in, there was a new training staff added, but
No, not really. No.
we got an interesting chat question though from Tony Briscoe about maybe calling up Moses Brown from the Grand Rapids Gold to play some center minutes, because there was a game where he was kind of going off in garbage time of a preseason game, and he's like a tall guy. Maybe he could provide some center minutes, especially because Zeke's not going to. We've been allergic to putting him back at center, as is understandable, since that position kind of almost ruined his career, if it's not already completely ruined, because he didn't even get into the Raptors game. So it's like, is DaRon going to be playing center? How's that going to look?
Can we just appreciate that fact for a second? We had no players. And Zeke was a DNP in the Raptors.
That is crazy.
Like, I think JV kind of went out kind of late. It was like late third quarter. But DA basically goes to 7-man rotation after that, and is like, nope, we're not doing that. Also, only designation this season was the flu, according to Ben Wallace.
Could have been.
Yeah, we could look back at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, like, season from hell, honestly, because the team had been so good. Even like, we were nitpicking ultimately because the expectations for this group were so high because they're so good. But they're so good. They were winning well over 70% of their games before Cam went out. And that was with 2 starters missing in AG and CB, right? The calculus is going to change from here, but you kind of can't help but feel like okay, the ultimate goal is to make the playoffs and do all that stuff, but if you're a follower of Matt Moore and a watcher of Locked On Nuggets, you know the statistics on what it means to be a team that is trying to win a title and doesn't make a top 3 or top 4 seed even, right? And having all of these players out for a month plus is definitely going to put a damper on Denver's chances to be able to do that. And it's not just like getting a top seed and getting home court for like at least a round in the playoffs. It's also like, this group is so new, and you think about how early CB and AG went out. We haven't had time for them to fully develop their chemistry yet. The offense had been like super cooking, even when they weren't shooting well early in the season. We were like number 1 or number 2 in offense, even when we were shooting like 29% from 3 as a team. But the defense had miles to go, still has miles to go. We're going to talk about how they're going to try to, survive on that end of the floor over this next month. But there are many layers to why it's important to be a good regular season team to make it through the playoffs. And you're losing all of them by having this many players out for important players out for such a large chunk of the season. And it's also it's really cruel because we were finally getting to the point where AG and CB were kind of on the horizon of coming back. Like, oh my God, we're going to have all our horses back probably by mid-January. And then we're finally going to get to see what this team's capable of. And it was going to be very important because of how dense the month of January is just in terms of the number of games. And I'm really worried about this thinner group trying to make it through a denser stretch of games too. It's not just the quality of the opponent, it's just the sheer, stress on the body, of competing at that, at that density. But the I totally lost my train of thought. It sucks. It sucks having all these guys out. It sucks not being able to develop chemistry with them. Oh, right. What I was going to say is we were trending towards having everybody healthy, and now we're like having large chunks of the roster out in like staggered waves throughout the season, right? So
Yeah.
first it's AG and CB out, and then you're like, okay, we're going to be missing Cam too. So then it's like, okay, maybe everybody will be healthy minus Cam, and then we'll get Cam back. But then Cam goes out, or right, Cam goes out, and we lose Jokic, and it's like, oh my gosh. Now we're approaching the part of the Venn diagram where we don't have anybody but Jamal for like at least 2 weeks, maybe, because who knows when CB and AG are actually going to come back. A lot of people thought they might be back for Christmas Day, but it seemed like the team was being more cautious with them than really I thought, which like I welcome that. Or at least I did when we didn't have, no other players healthy. I thought that they would try to rush those guys back for like Christmas Day game. And now we're going on, it's been a week since that. And they're still not really projected to be back. I know David Adelman said that like maybe toward the end of this road trip, guys might be back. And I
Yeah.
was looking at the calendar, and the Nuggets aren't back home because they're on this extended East Coast road trip. They're not back home until January 11th, or their first game back home is until January 11th. I think they'll probably be back the day before. But it's just, I'm thinking about how they try to get through this stretch without injury. So let's actually jump into that. What are the objectives for this month? Right? Obviously you want to win games, but I think the number one objective should be like limiting other injuries. I was talking about this being a triage, like harm reduction, harm mitigation month before we lost Val in the Raptors game. So already they're kind of like failing at that part of the scorecard, right? Stay healthy, and in particular, they need to protect Jamal because if he gets injured, it could be this season and next that gets completely cooked, right? Depending on what the injury is. And also like we do not have anything to even healthy, we don't have anything to even approximate what Jamal contributes to this team. He is Jokic is technically the most irreplaceable member of the team, but for a short stretch even, we do not have somebody that can replace what Jamal brings. Even approximate it, right?
Yeah.
And I say that, and then my next bullet point in my notes is like, we need Jalen Pickett to do something. We need Jalen Pickett to be the player that Calvin Booth thinks Jalen Pickett is in this month, right? In large part because we need to try and protect Jamal from having absurd usage and an absurd burden with a very funky group around him. And so like, what do you think about those sort of like the health and like Jamal in particular being like the main objective of getting through the next month? Well,
Yeah, I think Jamal, I mean, if they can, I mean, some of the stuff you can't control. And I do think if,
clearly.
people are speculating about the timing of this and the unfortunate luck that the Nuggets have. And I do think it is just unlucky and coincidental, like some people are bringing up. I'm not blaming any one like person or like
Oh
the
no,
training
there
staff
was
or
an Etsy
Adelman.
witch involved in this, Will. And I'm gonna find out who hired her. Okay.
Thunder fans have cursed us or something. No, I don't know. But yeah, getting Jamal through because we're not trying to put it out there, but Jamal is going to have a workload on him. And even in the Raptors game, I was looking at how much he was doing. And obviously, a lot of the Raptor strategy was to get the ball out of Murray's hands because he is so much more lethal with it than anyone else at this point on the Nuggets. And so on that front, teams will be trying to get the ball away from him. But if he has an ISO opportunity, I think he's going to be aggressive to try to score. And how much are teams willing to try to give him that and tire him out, and also be trying to tire him out on the defensive end, just because he's our best player by far right now. And you definitely don't want to like force him to do more. So I think over this stretch, we got to try to win some games, try to like be 500, let's say, or somewhere around there in this month, but not at the cost of like working Jamal super hard. Like you just got to kind of try to treat things normally.
I think 500 is a very
that would be amazing. I'm just saying
like
that's
lofty. Like I would be concerned about what it costs to go 500 if they did that.
Well, it's like
Jamal's our only reliable ball handler. Yes, that is a problem.
Yes, for sure. Well, Bruce is going to get more reps. Pickett, Hardaway Jr. is going to be handling the ball at times. Pwat will be doing it too, and it'll be very mixed results throughout.
Mixed results was basically what happened in the Raptors game, which we're going to get to in a little bit, because that game is basically our only indication of like what's this team going to look like for the next month. And really, I don't think that you can tell what it will look like. We're a show largely that is predicated on what is the team doing schematically? How do we get to the beautiful game with our offense? How do we limit other teams getting to the beautiful game on the other end? Etc. And I really do think that this month is just going to be such a like mud fest. Total grind. I think the best games are going to look like the Raptors game the other night, and the worst games are just going to be blowouts, like blowout losses.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think the Raptors game was more interesting than I thought it would be. When we're looking at these questions specifically about like how we're gonna stay afloat, and because they're kind of a mediocre team, so those are the games you expect to maybe steal. Whereas like if you're playing a really good team
in the East, by the way.
Yeah, well,
I was watching that game like, how did they get here? Genuinely, I was like, I know they didn't shoot well, but I also hated their process, the Raptors offensive process. I'm like, they were the number one offense for a bit, for like a stretch in November. And I remember being like, the Raptors? Really? Like, what's going on over here? And I watched like the end of some games, like when they played the Celtics and like things like that, but I hadn't really been watching them. But watching them against us, I was like, what? Really? Like, I know like the West is losing some more games to the East this year, but I just still feel so strongly that there is a large gap between these two conferences.
Yeah, same. I thought they were weirdly not using Brandon Ingram enough. And when he started to get aggressive, they were really coming back in the game. And then the Nuggets did a pretty good job getting the ball out of his hands. He's a good passer when
he wants to do that. He's a really good playmaker.
Yeah. But even then, like getting the ball out of his hands was a good thing for us. And we did a good job kind of swarming him at times, especially at the end of the game, even though they were getting him off ball more and he was getting cuts and like some shots that way, which I thought helped. They were more successful with that, I thought, than him trying to just like initiate with the ball. But yeah, it'll be, I think, like getting these teams in like a shooting contest scenario, whether that's playing drop or, giving some open threes and just hoping they miss. Like, I know it's a horrible defensive strategy, but it can work. And the Raptors were like, that was like one of the weirdest, not like that weird, but a pretty bad 3-point shooting game from both teams.
Yeah.
And thankfully we hit around the same amount of threes and stayed in the game. But Jamal's 3-point shot, I think, is going to be key too. And so he's going to have to force some like crazy contested shots. I think other people are going to do the same thing, but I would trust Jamal the most with that. And so it's going to be a thing, kind of get in a shootout.
Threes in that game. It was a total gunner. And we needed it because, especially on rewatch, I was like, man, there's so many shots that other guys just passed up. And like the shots that Tim was taking were kind of crazy, but like, damn, everyone else is like passing up wide open looks. So we need somebody to take.
I don't really care about Tim taking bad contested shots just on a pull up, because it's just like you got to do something. And I don't expect super intricate designs at this point, but we might have to, because especially it's going to be getting stale.
We've lost our two best screeners.
Yeah.
And like the offense is just going to be mucky. You like when you get an open shot, like you have to take that shot. Like I didn't like some of the like Jalen Pickett was one that passed up an open shot. Spencer
Mhm.
Jones didn't really pass any up. Trying to
Which
think,
is,
trying to remember
I
who else was even in the game to remember who was passing up shots.
yeah,
It was
Pickett
so
has to not hesitate, I think, in this stretch. Because who cares? Like we have such little chance really to win a lot. Just like let it fire if you can, unless there's some really good shooter. Like if Tim was open and you were open, like yeah, throw it to Tim. But like I think he just threw it to Pwat, and
so just to tell you, like just to illustrate how poorly both teams shot in this game. David Allen got a question in the post game about, if he had any comment on the team shooting like 27% from the field in the second half against the Raptors. And DA was like, well, if they're shooting, they're not turning it over. Like, if they're taking shots, then they're not turning it over. And that is so important. That's going to be so important during this stretch. Like they will get blown out in games where they lose the turnover margin by more than like 5, right? They need to not have particularly live ball turnovers, but turnovers period, right? You can't waste possessions. And it's crazy because in this game they got completely like demolished in terms of possessions. I think the Raptors took 20 more shots than they did. If the Nuggets had turned the ball over even like one more time, because the final score was the margin was 3, and really it was like Brandon Ingram barely doesn't get a game tying shot off his fingers in time at the end,
crazy
which
ending.
should not have even happened because Denver was up enough in the last minute for that to have not been a question. So once again, our last 1 minute defense is just like the worst you've ever seen. Um, outside of whoever Tracy McGrady was playing in the 2000s. Um, but what was I talking about?
Just getting a green light to shoot.
The turnovers is like you can't add to that margin in any way. Like they're gonna get destroyed on the glass without centers, right?
Yeah, that was a
We need
question I
to
was interested
start
in.
we need to start forcing turnovers. Like I just don't even care anymore about the whole like idea of like, well, like if you're gambling, you're giving up like we need to figure out a way to not be 30th in opponent turnover percentage over this next month. Because if they are, I don't know that they're going to win another game
Yeah.
this month. I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, I was
Because you're
interested
going to
in
get
that.
destroyed on the glass. And if you're not going to be like perfect in turnovers, which I don't expect them to be, because it's literally just going to be like Jamal and Jalen Pickett trying to bring the ball up the floor against a bunch of teams that are just going to be hounding Jamal and then like exploiting Jalen Pickett's, kind of weirdness when dealing with pressure. You need to figure out other ways to win those margins.
Yeah. And without Jokic, like I retweeted a really good graphic a little bit ago, maybe a week ago, about the reason Jokic does score high on some defensive metrics is just that he's so efficient on the offensive end that he's not giving the opponents any chances to get easy buckets in transition, which definitely happened in the Raptors game more often. So limiting turnovers, and then yeah, I think even just gambling for turnovers could be an emphasis when we're trying to look at the identity of this team this next month, because I am wondering like what they're going to kind of lean into, especially defensively, because it's like just questions with what the center is going to be and how we're going to guard like in the paint and things of that nature. Like even Scotty Barnes was pretty tough for DaRon to defend at times. Like if someone can be aggressive, like I thought DaRon did pretty good one-on-one defense at times, but there are times where like bigger, stronger players are going to affect him. But yeah, I have at least one clip if you want to get started where
Yeah,
uh
let's get started. Let's do it.
Bruce, like you're talking about gambling. Like here on this like little action, I think Bruce tried to just kind of go through for a steal. It was a little bit lazy. I don't think he was going to get it, but now he's completely out of the play and not going to be able to uh, either switch or be with this roller who got the wide open dunk. So like one of those
I would say
plays where,
DaRon was a little bit in no man's land. Again, I'm not sure he knew how he was going to defend this. Like, he's kind of in a high drop, but isn't really positioned well enough to bother the pocket pass,
yeah, it's like
which is
he's got
kind
his
of what
hand
you
down technique wise to try to bother the pocket
right.
pass, but it was way, way open. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think communication with DaRon, like that was his first kind of NBA
Also,
game,
like
right?
him like learning like, okay, this is how to play drop in the NBA. Like learning like that positioning and all of that is gonna be a learning curve because these were basically his first non-garbage time NBA minutes.
Yeah.
Welcome to the NBA, Jaron Holmes.
Yeah,
Right?
so there's going to be a little bit of a learning process, especially with defensive coverages and like how to talk to each other and expect screens and things like that. It wasn't as bad as I thought, though. Like for just being kind of like intuitive about it, he was fine, you know. And if we want to just keep going on DaRon's
Yeah, let's do
defensive
it
game,
because we're going to be
obviously
expecting a lot of him over the
he
next month after expecting less than nothing from him for the first 3 months of the season.
yeah, I mean he did have a pretty big block. And a big possession late in the game that was ended up being important. This was the possession where there was like a million offensive rebounds on the Raptors and we just couldn't get it. And so it was just a lot of scrambling and trying to close out.
So
And then,
where
you
was
know,
Peyton at the beginning of this possession? Like what happened here?
oh,
Was this a they had forced a miss, he's expecting this tiny group to rebound and then he's trying to leak out?
I can't actually remember. There was at least 4 shots or something like that where they just kept getting the rebound. So that could have been Peyton closing out and like running like he was going to try to cherry pick or something and then came back
Right.
late, I
We
would
can't do
assume.
that. We can't be cherry picking in this stretch, especially because of how destroyed they're going to get on the boards. Peyton has to be a big part of trying to mitigate that. And he loves to do this. And there's been, some it's not just him. A few other players on the team have done this a few times, including Jokic, which really bothers me. So I'm like, Yoke, if you're not there, who is going to rebound?
No one or I know I want to see him
Nope.
get a cherry pick once. Jokic, but whatever.
I mean, he
But
has in the past, but you have to make sure they get the rebound. If they're not there, they need to stay in position. So
DaRon
that's
came
what
back and
happened here
affected
is
this.
like Peyton's like running back and
But they're going for the rebound, and he can do a putback, and DaRon gets a hand on it and blocks it. And then we
okay,
get
so
the
you get your
rebound.
offensive rebound. This is how you win a game where you get outshot by 20 shots in terms of just shot attempts, right? Is you limit the actual second chance points, even if you don't limit the second chance opportunities. Like they have to just be incredibly scrappy. This was a really big play by DaRon in a key moment. It would have been even better if they just got the rebound, but you do what you can,
Yeah, I
right?
thought for the most part we did pretty good. Like I could see the effort of like even the smaller guards and wings just jumping around trying to get rebounds because there wasn't really anyone else out there that could just easily go to like Jokic or Val. And it didn't work out all the time, but I was happy with how they put the effort in on that. For the most part in
Yeah.
the Raptors game. So they're gonna have to keep that up for sure. Yeah, and then let's see. I mean, let's just stick to DaRon because we've been talking about how we lost some of our best screeners. He did have this pretty big screen where he ends up knocking this player over, and Bruce goes and gets a floater. So I mean, maybe we'll see more of this with Bruce handling, and we'll see how DaRon's screening can improve if he's adept enough at flipping angles or just setting screens at the right angle and things of that nature. But for the most part, I
I
was
just
surprised with how strong he was on that one. And
I just anticipate so many illegal screen calls on him over this next month.
yeah,
He
I'd
got
be
that
surprised if there
one
wasn't.
late, like in transition that I thought was kind of like it was a 50-50 call. Like he wasn't moving, but it was that interpretation of the rule where you have to give the defensive player an opportunity to avoid you, and the defensive player never turned to see him there kind of thing, and it was like, didn't really have enough time to turn to see him there, but DaRon himself wasn't moving, so it was like a very, like, um, kind of 50-50 call. I probably would have let that go myself. Because there's so many of those screens where the dude is just like moving and DaRon just wasn't. Um, Baptism by fire for DaRon Holmes. So it's like, all right, kid, here's your opportunity that, I've been shouting from the rooftops that he needs to get. This is way bigger of an opportunity than I was asking for him, by the way. I just
Yeah.
wanted him to get like 5 minutes here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But we need so much more from him, and
it's a
we'll continue to even after AG gets back.
it's a quick shift, and I'm hoping it is a shift from David Adelman to not play Zeke and to be playing DaRon at a time when arguably you could be playing both.
Yeah,
because we're so limited. But
we don't know that this is going to be like an every game thing. Adelman has kind of been like all over the place with how he chooses to fill in the rotation when different guys are out. Like I was surprised to see, because I had to watch this game on rewatch as well, because I was out seeing the new Avatar movie while this game was going on. That he didn't play Zeke at all. I just would have expected him to play in this game, but yeah, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
We have no front court. Like, Zeke is going to have to play. We have no front court. So Zeke and DaRon are going to be playing together. They might be playing separately. I don't know. Each of them kind of playing 4.5. And we just kind of see how it can go from there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some DaRon offense since we're just on him. We'll just keep the ball rolling with that because he did finally score some points. And the way he scored does highlight some other aspects of the Nuggets that we can talk about while Jokic is going to be out because, I have all his buckets he made. He didn't make that many, but, this was a good pass from Tim Hardaway again, finding the big guy down low. He's been able to do that all season. To get DaRon his first dunk of the game. And see what happened on this play. Like, it's just a screen for Bruce. And, Jamal's gravity, I think, is going to be important. So I think Adelman could try to get creative with even how Jamal is going off ball because players are going to be, emphasizing him over DaRon. I mean, that player's not going to expect DaRon's going to get the pass.
Scotty Barnes completely ignores DaRon there to try to deny Jamal the ball.
Yeah.
And
that's going to open up, like, DaRon got buckets this way in this game. Pwat got buckets this way in this game just because everyone was so emphasizing staying with Murray. And so that'll be
that was a good read by Tim. Good call there. Good read by Tim, not trying to, force the thing to Jamal. I mean, not even that, just recognizing like DaRon's wide open under the basket right now. Like, nobody around him.
Definitely. So. And DaRon's three, it looked good in preseason. It looks pretty good now. Like, I think it's going to be interesting to see it.
And he's not hesitating on the shot.
Yeah. And Jamal was getting blitzed all game and doubled all game, of course, getting loaded up on. And so, Bruce flashing to the middle on this particular kind of blitzed action. It was more of a trap. Like, they just ran over and did a direct trap, which allows Bruce to just flash. But it's going to be important for anyone who's in an action with Jamal to be able to either short roll or slip and then be able to pass out of it like here, which Bruce can do. This is an easy pass, but, DaRon's able to hit the shot, which is a good sign for sure. Not sure yet what his tendencies are on his three and what area he likes the most, but I'm sure we'll be finding that out.
He hit another one, I think, above the break when our offense was on the other side, I think, in that game too. And I'm kind of surprised because I remember talking during Summer League about how I'm like, I don't trust this shot form. It looks weird to me. But he's been comfortable with it, and the shots are going in. It's been going in the G League, and it's been going in even in his, before this game, his garbage time stints here. So, Snoozer says, I think the Raps being super aggressive, doubling Murray was a mistake. Got too clever. I think that teams are going to try to strike a balance with that, but part of what's going on right now is that teams are adjusting to the fact that the scouting report on Denver is vastly different than it was 2 weeks ago, a week ago, even, right? Jamal becomes the number one priority. And I kind of agree because agree with Snoozer because one of the things that I'm worried about Denver being able to do is create advantages in the first place. And if teams are going to keep being so aggressive on Jamal, they're just going to like hand us advantages, and then it's just a matter like that doesn't mean it's easy, because now you have to like rely on Jamal to make the pass, and then also everybody else to kind of do their part within the flow of the offense and ultimately finish the play, which is its own challenge. But you're like, okay, we're just having advantages are handed to us on a platter, so that we only have to worry about the downstream thing. Whereas if teams were just kind of letting Jamal go one-on-one, we'd have to worry about like being able to create the advantage and everything else downstream of that. And so I'm very curious to see what kind of balance teams are going to strike over the next month with that as well. I thought, well, one of the downstream things that you'd worry about by teams just handing us advantages in this way by doubling, trapping, going like box and one on Jamal, is having that initial release valve. And I thought early in the game it was a lot of JV. Like Jamal was doing a great job finding JV in the middle of the floor, and JV was either scoring or passing out of it. He's doing just an excellent job, and I'm so upset that we're going to be without him for the next month, because like you said, Will, he was going to be a big part of the answer to the question of how this team was going to survive the next month without Jokic. Turtle Lord, that's my fiance, guys. Of the games until February 4th, we have 6 games that are for sure winnable. 2 Wizards games and 1 Hornets game, 2 Nets games and 1 Mavs games. I wouldn't say those 2 Nets games are as winnable as before, because the Nets have been playing really good defense of late, and
Michael Porter's revenge game. Not that he's like
I know, right?
mad at us, but he's gonna try to go off even more.
Right. He's just gonna give more fodder for Eddie Johnson to tweet about how Jokic holds players back.
God, the narratives around MPJ
that guy is
so
a
annoying,
tier 1 hater. Tier 1 hater. I believe it was after, I think it was after Jokic's like 56-point triple-double Christmas Day game that he had the like ultimate hater tweet about how Jokic is like a ball hog or whatever. I was just
he is crazy.
You just gotta tip your cap to the commitment to the bit.
Yeah, true. Hey, I'm a hater too. I've been there, and I even got to troll Eddie Johnson a little bit when I sat behind his broadcast at the Nuggets game when KD was on the Suns, and I went to the Suns game, and I was sitting behind him with the Jokic Serbian jersey and sitting in the frame. So that was fun. And I've even argued with Eddie on Twitter.
Oh God, I'm not interacting with that. It's complete bad faith, not an intelligent person.
Yeah.
2 Turtle Alerts points. Are on that comment. The other game that is not necessarily winnable is the Mavs game. That team is huge, and they've already beaten us twice, and we have no centers Jokic now. It's just, why did Eddie start hating Jokic? Lol. Eddie joins the pantheon of Jokic, like just ultimate Jokic haters, and it's really just him and Mark Jones, who, when he's complimenting the Nuggets, goes out of his way to compliment everybody but Jokic when they're playing well.
Yeah.
But Eddie is like maybe like the biggest like specifically Jokic hater that I know in terms of like a high profile person. Can you think of a bigger one?
Kendrick Perkins, kind of.
Yeah, but he's more like a cynical actor that just kind of says whatever, and he's even like complimented. And I'm not saying he likes Jokic. I'm just saying like I don't think Perk like actively hates Jokic.
JK says Mark
he
Jones
just
and
uses,
Drew Hanlon.
Drew Hanlon.
And
that's
Mark Jones too, for sure.
That's a good one. Mark Jones is, like I said, Mark Jones is up there, but I think Eddie Johnson has like a real animus.
Open, yeah.
Yeah, and like very open, and like is willing to say like ridiculous things.
Yeah.
At like ridiculous moments to get the point across.
Nick
Wright gave up the bit.
I was glad to see Nick Wright be more like, I just was wrong about him. I wasn't hating him. I just was wrong. So it's good. Different moves says Jokic MVP out the window if we win today. Hey, I'll be happy to give up that if we win today, but also it might be out of the window just because he might not hit the 65 game mark,
I think
which is also depressing.
I mean, it might be out the window even if he makes the threshold, because when you're up against somebody who plays more games, that should matter.
Even that. Yeah,
and in 2020, that's why 2023 is the most egregious, MVP heist.
Yeah.
I've ever witnessed, even retrospectively.
And it's going to be, I don't care about the MVP, but this year, but I'm sad about the All NBA stuff. I think it's so stupid that he would miss All NBA.
I agree. I hope that he can come back, in part because I would like him to hit the threshold to be able to make All NBA. Because especially after 2023, like losing another first team All NBA to like bullshit, kind of sucks. And I know there's been like a really, there's been like a renewal of the dialogue around the 65 game rule. I like don't mind it for like MVP and like Depoy. Maybe there's like a question of like maybe we should loosen that a bit for All NBA, like 55 or 60 even.
I'd loosen it for first team. There's been arguments for just lowering it for third team. I'd still lower it for first team, and maybe lower it even more each tier.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I would just lower it for all of them just a little bit, because I get it. Like, guys should play games to be able to win the awards, and it's like, well, there's other guys that like played more games than you, and especially when you're, I understand like wanting to lower the threshold for like not lower the threshold for third team, because I think third team is the one where it's like, okay, if you're like good, if you're quote unquote only good enough to be making third team in the first place, and you missed 20 games and there's somebody else that played 82 games and is playing like arguably at that same level, then you probably shouldn't be making it over them. Now that Embiid is watching, no longer need the 65 game limit.
It was the Embiid rule.
Good one, Caesar. Looked at her. I don't hate the rule, but I think there should always be exceptions. Like, I get and there are exceptions to the rule. Like, you could hit like, I think 62 games if, I think it's only if that's like a season ending injury though. I need to double check that. Or it's like 62 games plus you need like plus 62 games at the 20-minute threshold, and then you can have 2 games below the 20 minutes. I think that's only if your injury was like season ending. I need to double check that one. We can maybe have a dialogue, start a dialogue about that on a subsequent show this month as we get closer to Smashush says, I am worried about Jamal now. Completely agree. He's already dealing with an ankle. He has been for like a week and a half now at this point. Almost 2 weeks with that right ankle. Questionable, or not questionable, but probable again for the game today. Which sucks. Like, it sucks. Right? I saw friend of the show, Voya, made the point about Jamal having a reverse 2022 season right now where it's him and nobody else. But again, it's just for a bit, and it's like, can we get through this month? That's really what the question is at this point, is triage. Like, can we get through this month, and how can we get through this month? Happy New Year to you as well, Sammy G.
Yeah, and just really quick, let's just look at some Jamal clips, because obviously we showed the sequence where he got blitz and he hit and then Tim Hardaway hit, or Bruce hit DaRon in the corner. But I have some other ones that we can just look at really quick, and then we'll talk about some other players. But like, this wasn't a specific blitz, but often, it was actually. Okay, so you see this action, very aggressive blitz, and this is a play when we had Val, obviously, and then Val could do a dump off pass to Pwat for a dunk. This was early on in the game.
Beautiful play. Yeah.
Yeah, so Jamal's really good at playmaking out of the blitz. I think different teams will, try to be more aggressive on that depending on their personnel. But like you said before, the show about the balance of blitzing him versus letting him ISO, because when he can ISO, he can score. He didn't get as many opportunities to do that in this game because they were blitzing most of the time. But when he does have the chance to, like, he's just taking, Scotty Barnes off the dribble, and then he can go to the step back jumper that he always has. And if we're in a clutch situation, can he just go to that? It'll be harder because we don't have, Jonas Valanciunas to run a 2-man game with him. But, Jamal is a game-winning kind of guy. And I did think it was funny that we beat the Raptors by like 1 or 2 points when we had all these injuries and these other, like we lost to the Mavs by 1 and we lost to the Magic by 1 when we had Jokic playing. And, the clutch has been an issue all along. And we ended up winning this game by that, out of bounds play that Bruce lobbed over to Jamal to get the layup at the last second.
That was
so
great.
Just funny,
especially
seeing
because
us
it was
like that.
I don't trust these guys to make free throws, so let's just get a bucket.
Yeah. Sammy is also bringing up the question of bringing up Moses Brown. It'll be interesting. I mean, maybe I'd like to see it possibly. I just don't know what their like philosophy is with Moses and the G League and all that right now. But.
So there's also just the mechanism by which they can call somebody up. Moses is not a two-way. He's a player there's just the G League team right now. In order to get him, available to play on Denver's roster, you have to get him onto the active roster for the Nuggets. And there's a couple different ways to do that. And we can talk about them more as we get to the trade deadline. But 2 that come to mind right now would be waiting until the January 5th, like not deadline, but like the start date for when teams are allowed to sign 10-day contracts. So you could sign Moses Brown to a 10-day contract after January 5th. That would, enable him to be on. It would basically be him taking up that 15th roster spot for 10 days, and he'd be able to play in games. The other thing that you could do, and that leaves the opportunity for that 15th roster spot to open back up for either signing another player, upgrading Spencer Jones to that spot. At this point, it seems like it's going to be Spencer Jones because we're bumping up against the point where he is no longer eligible to play in games as a two-way player. There's a 50 game limit on that, and we're I think 15-ish games away. So I think or a little over 15 games. So I think we'll get through this month, but then it'll be well, okay, time to make a decision on this. And I think they're probably going to give him that spot after that time. And if they do that, or if they do that early, which would add to their luxury tax burden, by the way, which is probably why they're waiting so long to do it. That would open up a two-way spot, and the Nuggets would be able to give Moses Brown that two-way spot, and then he would then be eligible to play in these games. So those are the options that I'm currently aware of. And I'll do more research on that so that we have you can have a more fulsome discussion on the various options that the Denver Nuggets have to try and fill this hole at starting / backup / our entire front court, over the next month. Smashoosh, was there a team recently with that many energies? Yes. Memphis Grizzlies for this season, and not last season, but the one before. Remember, They broke the NBA record for the number of number of players that appeared on the active roster through a variety of 10-day contracts and two ways, etc.
But it is crazy, the amount of starters. I would love to see 7
players. Was the
wow. But yeah, with the Nuggets, it's 5 starters and maybe your 6th man. I mean, Tim's really good, but
with the Grizzlies, it was literally everybody. I mean, Gigi Jackson was their best player for that
was
season.
Pretty wild. That was pretty wild.
They were Grizzlies fans were freaking out because they're Vince Williams is a player. Just Ken Official says Nuggets got to scam someone in a Pwat trade. I don't think they're going to trade Peyton Watson before the end of the season. No. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Well, and he doesn't have a big enough contract to trade. He's, unless, it's going to be a free agency thing. And we brought this up earlier about Pwat, about, the contract looming large. CT brought that up. And it's interesting because I saw that report about Pwat. I don't know where that came from. It could have been leaked from anyone, but not that it's even a leak, but it's if Pwat plays really well, he could be out of the price range for Denver because of our financial reality. But I was I don't feel like he really has outplayed the Nuggets yet in terms of affordability.
Same.
I was like, what? Like, start making some shots and playing consistent defense.
This is what's called agent leaks. This
Yeah.
is all Rich Paul. Not just all I wouldn't say all Rich Paul, because even before Peyton changed agencies, you started getting like these types of reports like late in the summer. And I know the final decision on him like getting a contract wasn't even made until like the day before the season started, basically. But yeah, I'm still waiting on that. And even, unnamed Nuggets media members have been a part of this, where I'm like, I don't even like, where's the idea that Peyton has like outplayed Denver's quote unquote price range, which is set by Stan Kroenke's willingness to like open his wallet. Because Denver can theoretically pay Peyton whatever. It's just a matter of how far they're willing to go. I will say the biggest impediment, like if you're like a person like me that's just like, okay, for me, it's like I'm willing to be sympathetic if your thing is you want to avoid the second apron. Get off of Zeke Naji's contract, because it is complete dead weight. Figure out a way. I don't even care. Call Joe Dumars. Take on worse, like a bigger contract that is expiring. Right? Do something, because you're going to have to eat it next season. You're not going to be an under the luxury tax team next season. I just don't think they're going to do that. And I've expounded on why I think that won't even be their approach as an organization, because of the way that they went about getting that partial guarantee for Jonas Valanciunas next year. That's not something that a team that is worried about the next year margins does. They're worried about the seasons after that. And so if that's what you're going to do, then you need to start operating that way when it comes to trying to move off of other money in order to make room for like a player who's like actually contributing, right? Who doesn't get DNPs versus the Raptors.
Pwat and Zeke for Ayo Dosunmu and Jalen Smith. What?
I've seen that trade like lots of times, and I'm like, okay, are they going to do that?
That seems crazy. I mean, that would be a home run for the Nuggets. But yeah. I
don't know what it like. I don't know. I'm not as high on Jalen Smith as Matt Moore is. He like loves Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith kills us, but I try not to base my evaluations on players and how they play against these Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, can't the Bulls just do us a dumb trade like they did with the Caruso trade? I mean, I know Giddey's playing more than, maybe some people.
Okay, whoa. Jalen Smith is not Alex Caruso. Right.
I mean, Ayo Dosunmu. Just trading
he
us
would be useful.
A more valuable player for nothing.
But I don't think that money even works, because Ayo makes like $7 million and Jalen's on an MLE. So that's like $18 million you'd have to move. And Zeke plus Peyton isn't that. So we'd be taking on money, which is another thing they're not going to do.
Yeah.
I guess you could throw Julian in there and like hope you get close enough to where they're like, okay, fine, we'll deal with it.
Yeah, I feel like Julian will have to be used as a like incentivizer in some move at some point.
Fine with that, but he'd have to play. He missed yesterday's game with illness. Just a really rough season for him in terms of just being able to stay on the floor, and not even for basketball reasons, just for health reasons. Zeke and Straw are getting DNPs with this many people out is concerning, right? Yes, different moves. It is very concerning. I will say that I think Julian probably would have played in that game. If not for the illness. He was listed as questionable with illness. So he maybe has a bit of this. There's a really bad flu going around. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. It was all over the French news. Like,
Val was sick.
They had clusters of like tens of thousands of people getting it, an outbreak. It's spreading. It's like a very fast spreading type thing. So hopefully Julian doesn't get the rest of the team sick. But that's a thing. And if JV was also like questionable with something like that too, like it's probably already started making its way through the locker room.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about Pwat's offense and what we might be seeing from him, because his rim finishing, I think, is going to be very important, and his three ball as well. And he did hit some open shots. He took some very strange pull-up jumpers that were contested, but I don't really blame him. Like we were saying, like these guys just kind of gonna
Take the shot. If you're
yeah,
taking the
just
shot,
go
you're not
for it.
turning it over. Like, I will not get mad at you. I won't get mad at bad
Yeah,
shots
I
that
just
are
don't expect him
taken in this
to
stretch.
make a lot of those, which is fine. But go ahead and do it. But I mean, Jamal or Pwat's going to get tons of like we saw that dump off pass in the dunker spot from Val. Like I think playing the dunker spot is definitely something that we will see. But also just him slipping a lot. Like he'd already been doing this with AG out in these kinds of formations, and like it just almost looks like the horns in terms of getting the ball into an elbow. At five, someone playing the five, and then setting a screen, and he just slips right here. And I wonder if teams will try to look for that more because Peyton just doing this so much lately. And if he can just finish those, that would be
Yeah.
amazing. He
And that
went
was
for
a
some.
nice adjustment in the air to get to his right and get to a more comfortable layup when who was it on the Raptors that stepped up?
I'm not
Is
sure.
it Scotty that steps up? Or no, nobody steps up, but his defender's trailing him on his left side, so he makes the adjustment to get to the right so he can get to just a comfortable layup there.
The other thing
And
I
doesn't
don't want to
do
see
anything crazy like he
this
does later in this
yeah,
game.
and this happened too, where he was dribbling the ball up and picked up his dribble super high up the court. This time it was behind the half court, and he did it like maybe a step in front of the half court line, and another one that led to I think a turnover. But this one works out because he just does a give and go, and here's like a decent finish where RJ Barrett I think is coming to contest, and he can kind of he hit it with the right hand, and he kind of windmilled around RJ Barrett and then went up with the right. But this was he took off from pretty far away and was able to finish like that, and I loved seeing that because that's just more of what I want to
Yeah.
see from Pwat with these rim finishes, and not trying to do these crazy dunks that he almost got in that game, and just nice layups like
Do
this.
you have the clips of the tomahawk attempts? One of
No,
them
I
went in
didn't.
and he almost killed himself, and the other one he missed in the clutch, and it resulted in like Toronto getting 2 free throws because we ended up fouling on the scramble. Per Data Baller. Well, Data Baller is kind of weird. I need to like calibrate what's going on with their leverage filter. Watson's finishing is a plus 4.8 relative true shooting. Real true shooting or relative true shooting? Last season was -5. I think that's relative to average. So that's good. Like he is shooting better this season. I mean, he's been playing a lot with the starters and he's making his shots. He's making more of his threes definitely than he did last year. And definitely his finishing has not been as tragic as it was last season for sure, which is a like huge part of that calculation. The other thing is the free throws. He's been better, although he still has those possessions where he misses both free throws, and I'm like, "Hey, you're not allowed to do that." Remember that was my challenge to you. What was this? Could you bring up that last comment here?
Oh, just he has like a
Um,
15-20% success rate on statement dunks.
that's probably exactly right. And I don't get it because like his two-handed dunk finishing has gotten so much better because that he used to just be bad at finishing like every kind of dunk, right? Um, and now it's just a one-handed dunk. So I'm like, just go up with two hands, dude. Like we just need points on the board. We don't need these like there is some value to those dunks when you make them like they're a big like rally, especially when you're at home, get the crowd behind you, kind of get the energy flowing back in the building with your teammates on the floor, et cetera, et cetera. But trying to do that in the clutch, like not in the clutch, it was in the last minute of that game when you're trying to just go up 4.
Yeah.
It was just completely unnecessary. And I think he just, I don't like it. I'm tired of kind of repeating myself about this. You need to have more awareness of time and score and like this and just situational awareness, right? If Jokic was in the game, like you're getting
Be
benched.
so pissed.
I'm not even you're getting benched after that possession. Even if we had no other wings or forwards, which we don't, right? He's too
Yeah.
important to the team to be doing stuff like that at
Yeah.
this stage.
I want to bring up this comment. Pwat had flashes in college being a pull-up mid-range scorer. We did have this clip of Pwat hitting a mid-range jumper, which is something we do not see a lot. So it definitely stood out. And I don't think we're going to be relying on Peyton ISO scoring off the dribble. But here we had it where, just a crossover to the elbow with a little Shea push off, might as well, because the league doesn't call it. And then goes up for the jumper and hits it this time. Not a look we see from him a lot, but I wish it could be more reliable because he's so tall, and I don't expect him to be as good as like Kevin Durant hitting. Like, no one's going to be that good, but there are times even in this game too where he tried to go for like a little turnaround, it kind of floater jumper in the close to the restricted area.
Is not doing it for me this season.
Yeah, he missed the floater in this game.
And he's not going to stop because Jamal has been telling him to keep shooting that shot. But the pull-up jumper has been a much more reliable shot for him over the last few years than the floater has been, even when he's shooting it at low volume. And he went through a stretch in 23-24 where he was like, that shot was just butter for him. And he just hasn't really been shooting it. Like, we just haven't seen him attempt those shots as much this season. It's been a lot more floaters that haven't been going in. So I would say, like, get back in the lab with your floater, get a lot more comfortable with that shot before you bring it back to the game, and maybe just take a few more of these pull-up middies in those same situations. Obviously, get to the rim as much as you can. One of the things I'm really concerned about with the Nuggets offense over this stretch is, like, we're not going to be getting free throws. Nobody on this team, like on this like current active roster, generates free throws. It's really, really Jokic, JV, AG, and Christian that do that, and they're all out.
Yeah, we did have a ton of free throws in this Raptors game, though. Like, we really outpaced them in that. So many more attempts. Which was surprising.
They were also there was some intentional fouling at the end.
Yeah, that's true. But like, we made 28
I'm
free
surprised
throws.
to hear. I was surprised to hear that about the free throws, because it felt like the refs were letting a lot go for both teams in this game, to be honest.
Yeah, we had 34 attempts and made 28, and the Raptors had 21 attempts and made 17. So we got a lot more than them in that game, which was definitely surprising.
Well, the Raptors offense sucks. Like, what are the shots that they're taking? It's like,
yeah,
it's just jump shots. And to be fair, that's going to be a lot of our offense too over this stretch. And we did have JV through 3 quarters in this game. So he was probably a big part of that. Can we all be happy Toronto's been to an 0 of 18 from 3? Yes. Because what we're going to need over this next month is not just like stuff that's in our control as a team and stuff. We also need some more luck. We need some opponent shooting
variance,
luck, regression back to what it was early in the season. And even that might not be enough. Like, the Raptors shot like complete garbage in this game and still almost won, almost tied it at the end.
Yeah.
Right. That's the margin that Denver's playing with right now. So we'll also need some luck, and we can absolutely be happy when we get it. Right.
For sure.
Did you want to bring up some Pwat slips?
I could maybe I had that one that I showed earlier. I don't know if I have another.
Oh, no, that's fine then. That's just like going to be another mechanism that we have against Jamal getting blitz, as much as I just expect teams to blitz him over the next month. Because I think that teams, it's hard to tell. Like, I just think I just think different teams are going to do different things. But I think that some non-trivial chunk of the teams that we play this month are going to make the calculation that we'd rather give Denver advantages in some way, like hand offensive advantages to them on a silver platter in exchange for the opportunity to force like devastating turnovers on them. Mm-hmm. In these same situations, and kind of dare Jamal to be a very high level playmaker over the next month, which I thought like as a passer, I thought he did pretty well in this game against the Raptors despite all the pressure.
Yeah,
but that's
here's
hard to keep up.
one more
Okay.
where it looks like it's going to be a double drag, and of course
A
they
lot of double drag we ran in this game, for
and it
sure.
like weird play from the Raptors where they didn't commit to a blitz. They kind of waited for the second screen to do it, and then it ended up being 3 guys on Jamal. So this wasn't as much of a deliberate slip for Pwat as much as, yeah, teams are going to be loading up. There's 3 dudes on Jamal, and it's going to be him just passing out of it, and then Pwat
I
being
will
able to
say it was
finish.
kind of weird for Peyton to slip into the lane as opposed to popping out to 3 when JV was also going to roll. So
Yeah,
I
because then he'd be
wonder
rolling.
what the maybe that's like part of what happened with the defense is they're just like, well, we can let one guy try to guard 2 in the lane,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
just really
because
try to
I did wonder how this
blitz
was
it
going to
out
turn out
there.
when Jonas Valanciunas ends up rolling at the same time, but doesn't matter because Jamal just hits the pass. He's wide open. So, yeah, it's going to be a thing. And I think teams can definitely adjust when they start watching these games without Jokic. I wonder how much that will be open in the future because I feel like Peyton's main action on these plays is slipping. Like he just does it all the time. So it might be nice to throw in some pops because he hasn't really done that. And I'd like to see it.
I mean, that's not that I want him taking that shot. He's been terrible on
Yeah.
above the break threes, but
They might have to mix it up.
when Jonas is gonna roll, like maybe Jonas should pop then. Like I don't really like either of these guys
he's
shooting
not
above the
even in
break
the
threes, but
he can't pop because his calf is popped.
I know. It's over. His calf popped.
I mean, it's not, thankfully. It's just this calf strain.
I mean, there was the report after the game that Jonas felt a pop in his calf, which I mean that was probably the strain, but a pop is not necessarily an Achilles, obviously, because he doesn't have one. But man, this just really sucks, man.
Yeah,
I really want to emphasize that the objective for this month has to be health. It has to be health. Like you're gonna win games, or you're gonna try to win games. Obviously, you're gonna play the games, but like, do not put a ton of strain on Jamal Murray for no reason. Like, for example, if games start to get out of hand, like just pull him. You know, like we're not this group is not going to be executing some high level comeback against a team that's blowing them out. For example, it's really tough because I was trying to find like we've had like super injured teams before, like we talked about the Grizzlies from a couple of years ago and even the Grizzlies right now. But I can't remember a time that it happened to a team that was like number 2 in the standings. So it's like, okay, I want to be realistic about what the outlook for this team is right now, but I don't have like a reference point for it, especially considering like none of these injuries are season ending, right? For the player. And so you're going to get people back at some point and it's just a matter of like surviving until then. But it's like, well, how realistic is it to expect them to survive? Like literally survive. I'm not even talking about in the standings until then. But then you talk about like, okay, let's try to make sure there's something for them to come back to by staying alive in the standings as well. It's just a really, I guess, interesting scenario, especially when you're talking about these like cumulative injuries. And now you're left with Jamal and a bunch of guys who are not used to playing 30 plus minutes per night. Like, yeah, that's really tough. I think that they're going to have to they're probably going to use their 10-day contract situation. They're going to use the 15th roster spot on that until they have some clarity on like the situation that the team is in. Because you're still like, I mean, I don't expect this team to be good. It's just a matter of like, how bad are they going to be over the next month? And they're kind of evaluating that even right now because they don't know.
Yeah, we had a comment earlier about the Grizzlies signing Koloko, and how come we can't do that? So just bringing up to your point that, yeah, but to your point, yeah, we could use a 10-day, trying to find someone just to stay afloat and get some bodies in there. This is going to be pretty gnarly.
I don't know how the let me look up the Christian Coloco. How come we can't do that? I would imagine they used up like a full roster spot to do that. Let's see, which we're not gonna do. It says Memphis Grizzlies bringing back Christian Coloco on 10-day contract. But Bobby Marks said the 10 days were not like open until the 5th. So maybe it's like announced, but it's
like an agreement.
he's not gonna start officially until the 5th. Like that's my right. Because all these are usually, you know, out well before it happens. The team announced this on today. That's interesting. So maybe Bobby Marks is wrong about the date that this is allowed. Or maybe it's like the contract can start on the 5th, but they can be announced whenever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe they don't care about announcing 10 days early.
For all of us here.
Yeah. Well, we also had a question about our ceiling with AG and CB back, because they might come back. I mean, I don't want to rush AG back at all. CB had an ankle, so I think he's probably okay to rush back.
It's all about the floor.
Well, yeah. So let's say, what do you think the floor is with AG and CB coming back?
No idea. I mean, if we had Val, very different story. I would be like, this team should aim to go 500 over this stretch after those guys come back with Val. But with no center, like I don't want to see a ton of AG at center coming back from a hamstring injury, right? So I don't know. Like I couldn't tell you. I think that the Val injury hurts them a lot more over this stretch than it would have been, obviously, with just Jokic out. Because we just don't have great like downhill creators, which is like a type of player that can thrive even without a center, like someone who can create downhill in isolation, and just kind of get to the rim. We don't really have players like that. We need like a guy who knows how to screen and like run plays. AG can do that, but I don't want that. Right?
Yeah.
So I honestly couldn't tell you what the floor is. With this group,
but getting them back means it will probably be easier to steal some games. I mean, I like our chances of trying to win some games here and there with AG and CB being back, but I don't want to like gun for it if they come back, because I don't want them playing like super high minutes again. I think AG coming back should probably be on a minutes restriction and should be handled with extreme care, because the worst thing that could happen is re-injuring any of these guys. So
yeah,
just get through this and don't rush back because we're sucking. AG, just get fully healed.
Yeah, for sure. Any other comments we got here before we wrap things
we had
up?
a question about the zone. Just that we've been going to the zone a lot. Do you think we're going to be doing
honestly,
that a ton?
So here's the thing with our zone. It sucks. And it's largely used as a protection mechanism more so than a way to like proactively like generate stops or like proactively make the opponent uncomfortable. It's largely a protection mechanism for Jokic and Val, and they're out right now. We probably will play more zone, but I'm actually curious to see if the types of zones that we use change, especially with much, much, much smaller players on the back line. If we end up going with some more aggressive coverages, because like I said, they have to force more turnovers in this stretch. Not just because the rebounding question and like trying to win possessions or trying to win the possession game or try to mitigate the losses on the possession game, but also because if you're turning the other team over, that's one less shot attempt they can get at the rim with zero resistance because of just who our personnel is right now. And I get that people are like, well, Jokic sucks as a rim protector. Val does too, whatever. they're just a big body that is like there and like in the way and like forces somebody to get to a different angle. If you look at like some of the worst defensive possessions are the ones when you have like Val or Jokic like out on the perimeter, and then somebody just takes one of our perimeter guys off the dribble like one-on-one and gets like right to the basket with no resistance, no reason to like think twice about that shot, or even like forget about thinking twice about whether you're going to take it, but force them to like adjust their angle. It happens so fast and the defense has no opportunity to try to, adjust and re-engage there. So that's what I'm worried about in this stretch, and that's why they need to force turnovers. They have to. Okay.
Yeah.
Because teams are not going to shoot was it 27% from 3 every game like the Raptors did. It might have been worse. It was really bad. The Nuggets also shot poorly in that game. It was like 25%. But yeah, teams are going to shoot that from 3 every game. And you need to find other ways to try to mitigate what are going to be known consistent weaknesses over the next month in terms of like rim defense, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to kind of wrap this up a little bit, despite all these injuries and questions we have, I am excited to see some of these players play in roles they hadn't played, like Pwat and DaRon and even Jalen Pickett, and I just want to see what happens. It's going to be ugly, you could argue, but a little bit fun as well, and I'll have more fun with it knowing Jokic is coming back. I'm definitely not giving up hope or punting on the season or anything. I don't think we'll be out of the play-in position or anything crazy by the time Jokic comes back. We're still going to be in a playoff spot, I believe. And when everyone's back and they can stay healthy around playoff times, we may not be in the 3 seed position, which is what you'd want to ideally be, at least in terms of historical like precedence of trying to win a championship. You want to try to be a top 3 seed. But there are some things that can, like, you could get lucky and be a lower seed and not be an OKC side of the bracket. So some things can work out in your favor, and you know that like drawing the right matchups in your path to a championship is key. But with a lot of the depth that we added, we still are more matchup proof than we were in previous seasons. I'm not saying we're fully matchup proof, but I still like our chances when everyone comes back and is healthy. So I'm not like giving up on the season or anything, but it's just this stretch is going to be interesting and could change a lot about like the rest of the season and how it's handled. So
I think that there's a very like real possibility that we're in play-in position by the time Jokic comes back. So I would not foreclose on that possibility, unfortunately. But let's try to, like I said, mitigate losses. Ye of little faith. Yeah, well, look at where my faith has gotten me right now. It's been a rough season.
On the flip side, I just think like everyone's injured now. And I know that, when you're injured, these injuries can pop back up later in the season, especially like hamstring stuff. Sometimes you see players be dealing with it over and over. And I really hope that's not the case for AG, who does seem to have a lot of lower body soft tissue injuries. But I'm just kind of thinking everyone's hurt right now. The chances of them being hurt later seems low because I don't see this happening. This degree of devastation of the amount of players being injured happening again. So I'm hopeful that this is hitting us now and later we'll be okay.
But let's get through the now.
Let's just get through the now. Yeah.
Well, if you made it this far, we really appreciate you guys. You guys are the real ones. Listening to us blabber on about this horrible injury situations.
Yeah. Well, it's good to be back.
If you like our content, please remember to hit the like button, the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on socials. All our links are in the description. And finally, always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks, especially losing players.